Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in to check out this video. This is going to be the removal of an eastern yellowjacket nest, which is a nest in the ground. I'm really excited about this video. This nest is humongous. It actually inspired me to do a upcoming video, which I'm currently working on, showing how much soil is excavated from these nests by measuring the volume of empty space in the nest I just recently extricated. So I'm going to be showing you guys how much soil is actually removed in a season from a particular species, and this one being an eastern yellowjacket nest. Really excited to show you guys that footage. So far it's pretty incredible, even for me, knowing how much that they're actually removing. But it's going to be really cool to convey that on camera and show you guys what that looks like. So let's get to it. I want to show you guys this removal, and I'll catch you guys at the end.
So I just wanted to do a couple of close-up shots and just kind of show you guys what the area looked like, how it's pretty much been all summer. So this is really tall grass, and they were kind of like burrowing in between the tall weeds and everything. And down inside of there is where the entranceway to the nest is. So you can kind of see they were carrying out little pebbles and things and dropping them off right outside the entranceway. And they were pretty well protected with all those weeds there, so skunks didn't know they were there, possums and raccoons. I was able to get some good shots with the Crane 2. The Crane 2 is the device that I use to hold my camera, so that way it makes for nice smooth shots. So just batting down the area with my lawnmower, with my wasp suit on, which I'm sure looks pretty silly to onlookers. So I really did expect this to kind of swarm up a little bit more than what it did. They, as it turns out, once I started digging up the nest, the nest itself was about 4 inches down from the surface of the ground, so the vibration itself didn't really set them off as much as the activity right at the entranceway. So when people mow grass and they get stung by yellowjackets, oftentimes it's not from the first pass that they make, it's from the second pass when they come back to that area after the swarm had already happened. So you can kind of see here they started to swarm the area, and it was more related to the fact that the atmosphere around the entranceway has changed. So all the foliage and paraphernalia had changed around that area, and so foragers coming back and things were a little confused as to where their entranceway was, because they didn't have their landmarkers to really kind of tell them where everything was. So they were kind of more just floating around. I mean, there was probably about 50 of them floating around there, not super attacking me until I turned the vacuum on. Then they really started going after the vacuum, and you can kind of see them to the right hand side here. They were going around the vacuum and whatnot, but towards the end of this removal, they were swarming pretty heavy. So you can see this one here in the bottom left part of the hole has a bit of dirt in its mouth, or soil, from excavating, and bloop, in she goes. But yeah, so this is a very, very, very active nest, and just by showing some of these shots here. Now, you'll notice to the right of the hole, when they come out and they're not flying out and they're crawling, they're not getting sucked up by the vacuum, because I'm not sucking them off the surface. I'm literally just vacuuming them as they fly. So if they're crawling out, the vacuum has no chance of sucking them up. So a lot of the swarm that happens is more just from the adults who climb out and kind of crawl across the surface of the ground and get away. So the reason why they even do that is they're climbing out and going towards the sun. If the nozzle was on the other side, I probably would have gotten a heck of a lot more of them, because they would have pretty much gone right into the vacuum. But that would have ruined the shot, in the sense that you wouldn't be getting this super clear and bright shot of the entranceway of the hole, which that's a small price to pay. Have a little bit of a swarm, but have a great shot. So what I cut down to probably about 5 minutes of them climbing out of this hole and just seeing the mass amount of yellowjacket, what I call the warriors, but the the guards and the foragers that are coming up to the entranceway to protect the nest, it still is just a fraction of what was actually inside the nest altogether. So it was about 5 minutes that I left in the video, but I was doing this for about probably a half hour to 40 minutes. Just to give a great idea for everybody to see just how much activity there was. So patting on the ground, just trying to stir them up. And that worked like a charm, because out they came when you pat on the ground like that. And no fear. I mean, these things just, when they come out to attack, they only have one thing in their mind, is protecting and defending the colony. So I did kind of spray like my ankles and my wrists with black flag prior to starting, and they can smell that they shouldn't be flying on that, but they just go right into attack mode, and they could be stinging my suit, latched onto my suit, and I can spray them directly with the black flag, and they will not stop. And they will, you know, if you spray them while they're in the air, they'll fall to the ground, spaz out a bit because they're getting killed. But if they're on my suit, they don't spaz at all. They stay in that stinging position and continue to sting until they die. So I'll actually find dead bodies in the stinging position latched on my suit.
Right here.
Just look at all those numbers. I mean, that just blows me away. And once you think it's starting to slow down, then thousands more come pouring out of the hole. I was really happy with these shots. I just thought that just looked so good, seeing all them flying out like that. And at the end of this video, I include a little slow-mo reel of this as I do my outro, so you guys can see what that's like in a kind of more of a slow motion. These cameras are 4K, but they're shooting in 29.9 frames a second. So doing slow-mo shots, you get an idea as to the clarity and things with the slow motion, but it's not the same as if like my other camera that's 1080p that shoots in slow motion is 60 frames a second, and you get a lot better clarity per frame. So with this one, I'm satisfied with the way the slow motion looks. I could slow it down further, but you're going to get a lot more blurred images than if you had a higher frame rate. So but the quality of the standard time footage is paramount for me, so I accept that small compromise of slightly blurred images with the slow motion. So the name of the game here is stirring them up. The whole point is to get as many out of the hole and out of the nest as I can, so that way when I'm extracting the nest itself, it's not completely engulfed with adults. So there's about 5 different levels here. There's the foragers that are out and about outside the nest that are coming back. There's the guards at the entranceway. There's the queen and the tenders to the larva inside the nest, and then there's the excavators that are underneath the nest digging and hauling out material. So the foragers go out and they get the pulp to build the envelope and the comb. They also will get the food for the larva. The tenders to the larva will go around and swap fluid, so as the foragers bring in food, the tenders will then divvy out the food to the larva. The queen lays eggs. She doesn't really do much with tending to the larva anymore. And then the excavators solely go down and dig and haul out soil and then bring back cellulose. So it's kind of a twofer job. So you can kind of get a good idea, good image here of the swarm around me. You can see some latching onto my arms. At one point here, one lands on my back and starts stinging my back. I'm not sure if it's in this particular shot. I thought it was. I guess not. Oh, there it goes. And just a few more shots showing the entranceway here. It started to slow down a little bit, but even slowing down was still like, 30 or 40 within a 20-second time. I mean, it's still incredible the numbers that will come out of there. What this also does too, vacuuming up as many of the guards and things as I can, is that when foragers come back, they don't get hit with that pheromone response. they will float around just out of curiosity as to why things have changed as far as like the landscape and why I'm there. But they're not really in attack mode. They're just more curious. If there were still guards there, they'd be constantly setting off the pheromone response, and the foragers immediately coming back would immediately go into attack mode. So my vacuum is pretty invaluable when it comes to doing these ground nests, because I don't only use it just to suck up the wasps, I also use it as a way to clear away soil as I'm pulling out big chunks. You know, the soil falls down on top of the nest, and the easiest and quickest way to get it off the nest is just to vacuum it right up. So inside my canister, my vacuum, oftentimes, you guys have probably noticed who've seen my videos before of ground nests, you'll notice that there's a good amount of sludge and mud inside the vacuum when I'm done. And that's solely to do with vacuuming up all the soil as I'm doing the removal itself. For those of you who have not seen my videos before, this is your first time being here, inside my vacuum is a mixture of usually dish soap, but pretty much any kind of soap mixed with water. Just a couple drops of soap into about maybe a gallon, maybe half gallon to a gallon worth of water. And so as the adults are sucked up, they go into that little mixture and they die pretty quick. And so when I go to empty out the vacuum at the end, I'm not emptying out a vacuum full of angry wasps. I'm emptying out pretty much just sludgy corpses. So there hasn't been much rain over the course of this summer, so this soil was very, very hard and dry. So it really didn't take much digging with a shovel. It just took more of me just grabbing the edges of it and just pulling big chunks out. So you start to see the enormity of this nest in the ground. And how they're constructed is it starts out as one rodent hole, like one bowl hole or something, and over the course of the time that the new queen founds the nest, or founds that hole, she starts building a nest. And she'll start excavating out the soil a little bit. She starts building the comb, starts laying eggs. But then as her workers start hatching, then they start digging. So this hole that you're seeing here, which is about 12 inches wide right here at the top, right at the crest, and then about 9 inches across the other way, was dug out solely by the wasps. That cavity didn't just exist there in the ground. Like, they dug that out. They excavated all that soil. So then as they dig out this massive hole, they build envelope around the new comb. So they're constantly tearing down their own nest and rebuilding and digging all at the exact same time. So as some workers are excavating, other workers are building, and they just keep that process going. And it's a super efficient system, and construction crews should take note. So what you're seeing here, this dome-like shape, is the envelope on top of the comb. So that envelope encompasses the entire nest from top to bottom, 360 degrees around the thing. So when I go to pull them out, I mean, I would love to pull out the nest all in one piece and have it one big conical nest. However, with this species, the envelope is super, super brittle. You just pick it up with your fingers and it crumbles in your fingers. So it's more of like just a encompassing protection of this, dropping soil and everything else. And you kind of notice around the edges of the envelope, see, like there where my left hand is, you see that there's a gap there. It's about maybe a 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch gap between the envelope and the soil wall. So there is a little bit of an air gap, at this nest. So they dig out more than they need, and they just keep doing that. So the nest gets built further and further out, but there's always that space there. This envelope is never touching the side of the soil. Just a few more little vacuumings to try to get up whatever workers might be left inside the comb. Primarily the ones you're seeing there are newly hatched adults. Kind of have like a little bit of a haze to them, almost look waxy, and a lot more black than yellow. and those ones are the ones that had just hatched. They don't fly. They can sting if you try to pick them up, but they really are trying to get away from you more than anything. So once I get majority of the adults that I can, there's still going to be hundreds of them inside that nest, but try to get as many of the workers as I can. But check out that monster. I mean, that is just a humongous nest. That is 7 tiers of comb. Look at all that. And that's all queen cell that you can see there. All these larger cells. And just get another angle of the same part of the removal. Look at that thing. And that thing was almost 10 pounds. I mean, it was pretty hefty. So it's about the length of a football, but it's wider in areas than a football. And yeah, just a monster. So I do get to show that up close a little bit later in this video of just examining the nest and examining the cells. But look at all those adults in there. That's just incredible. So again, just trying to vacuum off just as many of the mature adults as I can, because I'm going to be putting this in one of my bins, and I was going to be doing shots of it later, and I really didn't want to have mature adults flying out of that thing when I take this down into my quote-unquote studio to do my shots later. So spending a few extra moments just vacuuming up what I can is paramount to not having a mess later on. So this is down at the base of the envelope wall that was the comb was resting on. Look how perfect that is. You see this hole to the left here. That's how the ones who were digging, the excavators, get into the nest from down below. There they go. There's a couple of them. There's 2 holes there. I'm excited to see all the stones down there. So I've never actually gotten a envelope base out of a ground nest like this in one piece until doing this nest. I could not believe I got that out in one solid piece, because like I said, this stuff is usually so brittle down in these ground nests that it usually just falls apart when you try to grab it, because it's connected to stones and whatever. But look at that, got that all out in one piece, and I still have it in one piece. I want to try to cast it. I think it'd be amazing to cast that, or at least spray it with some poly to try to harden it up a little bit, stiffen it up. So just to try to give you guys an idea as to how deep and how wide this cavity is. Get some close up using the crane too. The cavity is just freaking humongous. The cavity is just freaking humongous. Here's my hand inside of it. That's me touching the bottom. All this distance. Here's where the nest started. That's at least 8 inches down, because my middle finger, or my pinky to my thumb, is 8 inches. And it's well over 8 inches wide. It's like about a foot this way and about 8 inches this way. 8-9 inches. It's crazy. So that's all ready to get thrown into the compost pile.
Alright, so that was a pretty freaking big nest, which is like, this time of year, this type of nest is just at its peak, and they've built this massive colony kingdom under the ground. And when you see that little hole, and some people suggest about pouring gas down it and things, they don't realize what's under there. They don't bother digging it up afterwards, but it's a pretty incredible feat what they accomplish in probably about 4 to 5 months. So this is the envelope that was at the very bottom of the comb. And as you can see that hole there? My eye? That's where they were entering the space in the cavity to dig down further. So here's where the actual comb was sitting, and then they were coming out of the comb space in through this hole, or out through this hole, into the ground to then excavate. Then once they excavated, they come back up, go through that hole, and then go out the hole at the surface of the ground. There's a couple of them. There's one there, and then there's a couple on this side. I don't know if you can see that right there. So yeah, so this is pretty incredible just with it itself. I can't believe I got it out pretty much in one piece, all but right at the bottom. The vacuum sucked up a little bit. So, but yeah, I'm really excited I got that out in one piece. So I'm gonna try to show you guys the comb itself. This could be kind of interesting considering I'm inside in my studio, and I'm bringing in a live yellow jacket's nest that I did have it sitting outside this evening, which got pretty cool. It's about 50 degrees, cold enough to slow them down, but not stop them. And there's a fly in here. It keeps throwing me off. Can you guys fly? Can you fly? Didn't seem so. This could be the end of me. So this is it, and this is heavy. This is like probably 10 pounds. It's decent size. It's got about 7 layers.
So just get a couple extra shots here using the crane too. Just try to get some close up to the comb. So as you can see, I'm trying to update my production a little bit. You can see my drop cloth behind me is not quite ironed out. I just wanted to get some shots really quick. I do plan on ironing out, and you guys I'm sure are going to comment about it. But just look how super cool these comb are. So there's 3 layers of queen comb. This is one of the layers here. You can see a larva there, queen larva or male larva, weaving her silk cap. So that's what the white caps are. The white caps are larvae that weave their cap and get ready to go through their pupation stage. So those are worker cells on this third comb down, and then also queen cells. I've never actually seen that before. I've never seen queen cells attached to worker cells like that. I've usually just see the queen cells on top of worker cells. So there's virtually 2.5 or 2 1/3 queen cells on the top of this comb. So those are all worker cells, and then to the right and top are queen cells. See the difference in size. I was really happy with how these shots turned out. And no stings with this removal, so that was even more exciting. So So you can see there where my backdrop needs to be ironed out. It was brand new. I opened it out of the packaging and hung it up. Well, I should have ironed it. But bear with me while I update my production.
So as you can see, I'm stepping up production a little bit. I'm trying to make my videos a little bit more pleasing to viewers who were maybe used to channels who have a little bit more production value. My channel has started out mainly just from me holding a cell phone and doing removal videos for friends on Facebook. And then I decided to start posting them on YouTube, and then things just started taking off, and you guys started joining in and subscribing to my channel, which is really awesome. And it's happened so fast that now I'm at a certain point with my subscriber count and my viewership that I've surpassed people who have fewer subscribers but have a greater production with equipment and with just techniques and things with editing that I just don't have yet, and I kind of feel like I've kind of gotten thrown into the deep end. So I'm trying to improve my quality, improve my production, improve my shots, improve my editing, so that way you guys have something a little bit more pleasing and something that's a little more conducive with a channel that has this much notoriety to it. So bear with me as I start to work on some things. If there's some suggestions you guys might have, drop them in the comments, because I'd love to hear them. I'm very much open to suggestions, so if you guys have any ideas, please feel free to drop them in the comments. I spend a lot of time in the comments, especially when I post a new video. I try to spend about 2 hours just answering questions, just engaging my audience, so that way you guys know that I'm here for you just as much as you guys are obviously here for me. So I kind of want it to be a bit of a give and take. So hopefully you guys feel that with my videos and with my channel.
Alright guys, thanks so much for tuning in to check out this video. If you guys enjoyed this, drop in the comments, let me know what you think. If you have any ideas for any future videos, just drop in the comments and let me know what you guys would like to see next. If you guys haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. And then if you do end up subscribing, hit the bell notification button so that way you guys can get notified anytime that I do post a video. If you guys have subscribed already and you've been coming back and enjoying my videos, thanks so much for tuning in and supporting my channel, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.